Good evening, everyone. Before I hand over to the chair of tonight's meeting, I remind everyone here in the room we are now live streaming. I'd like to request that all participants wait until being invited to speak by the chair. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand. Once invited to speak, please preface your contribution by stating your name. This will help the mics lock in on the primary speaker and thereby maximise the sound quality for those watching at home. If you are watching at home, what? No, it's not.
Sorry, I interrupted.
I should have not done it. It should have been here. I'll start again. It's going to save time. Okay, good evening, everyone. If I hand over to the chair of tonight's meeting, it's good.
Yeah, that's
Feedback.
That was me moving my chair.
I remind everyone here in the room we are now live streaming. We politely request that all participants wait until being invited to speak by the chair. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand. Once invited to speak, please preface your contribution by stating your name. This will help the mics lock in on the primary speaker and thereby maximise the sound quality for those listening at home. If you are watching at home and wish to participate in tonight's meeting, please turn your video on. If you are just observing, please turn your video off. Unless actively speaking, all those watching the meeting via Zoom should have their mics muted. I will now hand over to tonight's chair, Councillor Jay Westbrook.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this evening's meeting of Community Development. So, first up, we've got public participation. We do have one.
No.
Oh no, sorry. First up, we've got apologies. Sorry, I just completely jumped. I just saw you at the end of the room. Do you have any apologies this evening?
Councillor Stokes, being stopped by Councillor Price. Wonderful.
Sorry, now we've got public participation. I just want to get the declarations of interest. Why is my? Oh, thanks. Sorry, my screen's really tiny. I'm really struggling. Now we've got declarations of interest. Can't see it. Any declarations of interest? No? Right, now we have public participation. Got there eventually. So we do have one member of the public here this evening, which is Hannah, who was the instructor for Park Yoga. And we have asked Hannah to come along and just give us a little bit of how it went and a bit of a rundown, if that's okay.
Yeah, so we did 20 weeks, Park Yoga, went really well. The feedback was really good, actually. The first couple of weeks were really high numbers as well. The first day had over 100 people turn up, which I was not expecting. But yeah, throughout that, really good attendance, around 50 people each week. And it was really nice. We got some regulars come in as well, so built up that relationship. Yeah, loads of lovely feedback. A lot of people found it helped them complete beginners to yoga, so people that have never done yoga before. And just like a really nice community aspect, and that's what Park Yoga really is all about. It's providing this service to the community, completely free, making it accessible to everybody. So, and they definitely did that. It was really lovely, and with the cafe in town as well, I think that helped. People, would have their little yoga session and then go grab a coffee, and it was nice to chat afterwards. So yeah, it went really well.
Great.
Really good.
And do you think people wanted to do it next year?
100%. I heard so many people. So many people will be back, which is why we've had feedback forms. They went out to everybody, and I think they're going to feedback us guys with official data. So yeah, loads of people have been asking to come back. Loads of people even just asking where I'm teaching, so they want to keep up their practice over the winter. So yeah, definitely.
Yes. Any questions?
no, just thank you. I was chair of this committee when we took it through, so it's just been so good to see something we supported be received and really encouraging.
Yeah, I agree. It felt like it went incredibly well, and I think a huge part of that is a big thank you to you for obviously managing to encourage everybody along. You're obviously a very good instructor. I would have come if I hadn't, fractured my spine.
Yeah.
Have we considered an alternative venue through the winter
So Park Yoga is it's a specific event. So it's run by a company called Park Yoga.
Okay.
So it's kind of up to them to come to us to ask us
Yeah.
to do it through winter. That doesn't, however, mean that we won't have some conversations moving forward, but at the minute, it is a specific event run by a specific group.
Right, and is it specifically for parks?
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, I mean,
Yeah, it is.
Christine, you probably know more than we do.
Yes, that is the USP on Park Yoga, that it is promoting yoga outdoors specifically for a set period of time between May and September.
Great.
There was quite a few people, and I know a lot of the instructors that are at, so, you know, Devizes, Chippenham, Trowbridge. A lot of them get high numbers, and they obviously, people want to continue their practice. So those instructors set up either a venue, town halls, village halls, and to carry on the practice, but that is done via the instructor. We are allowed to promote that via Park Yoga, but the Park Yoga pages have now, as of today, actually been shut down. So I did have quite a few people saying, where else can we do it? Will it continue into the winter? But as you just said, Park Yoga is strictly, those months. But if there's something that we continue, whether it's in the assembly hall or something like that, because obviously it's quite large numbers, but whether people continue it.
Yeah, I suppose that's a risky one coming to winter, isn't it? It's a little bit harder to get people out the house.
Exactly, yeah.
Cold, damp Sunday morning.
And then it gets
Peeling, isn't it?
Yeah, and the thing is with Park Yoga, and you know, their kind of point, it's free, and I'm sure you will know, as soon as something's free, people are interested. As soon as you put a charge on it, even if it was like £2, certain people start to drop off. So there'd be conversations around that as well.
Thank you so much, and thank you for coming today to feedback. You don't have to stay for the full meeting, but you're very welcome to. Got a child to put to bed.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Sure, we'll be in touch. Lovely, let's move on. Fabulous. Next item is minutes. Has everyone been able to read the minutes from the last meeting? Any questions? Right, so anyone want to propose them? Everyone to second? I'll second them if need be. All those in favour? All those against? Actually, that was everybody. Thank you. Okay. I'm really like to guys. I'm really sorry if I give everyone a cold. But yes, thank you. Lovely. I'll be on. So the next agenda item is to introduce our new Events and Community Development Officer. Do we have entrance music? Is there some kind of no? Lovely. So I don't know if people have met Christina, but Christina is our new Events and Community Development Officer. That's a mouthful, isn't it? Christina, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself a bit to everyone and say a few words, or if you don't, that's fine.
So hello, welcome. I'd just like to thank the staff at the Town Council for being so welcoming and supportive, and particularly Sarah for giving me so much guidance in getting started. And I'm really looking forward to working with you all.
So I met with Christina last week actually, and I feel you're going to be a really great match here. So really looking forward to seeing what you bring to the team. And I also want to just take this time to thank Sarah for all of the incredible work she's done in the interim and holding the fort together. I think you've done an absolutely incredible job, and I really hope that you know how appreciated it is, how much you've put in over the last couple of weeks, months really.
Be minuted, please. I'm happy to. I'm happy.
Yeah, take that minute because I think it's really important that you know how much we appreciate everything you've done, Sarah. Thank you so much. And we look forward to you being part of the team still. I appreciate you're not going anywhere, but I just want you to know how appreciated it is. Oh, and we've got Hayley here too. Sorry, I totally forgot. I'm so sorry. And we've also got our new deputy clerk here with us today. So this is Hayley. Hayley, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit or not?
Good evening, it's day one. I just want to say thank you again to the staff today and Tracy for being so welcoming. I think Melksham is a fantastic town, and I think there's a lot of opportunities here, and I'm really pleased to be part of that journey with you all.
We look forward to working with you as well. I'm really excited for what the future holds for us. Wonderful. Moving on. So item number 6, community development budget. So it's to note the events budget spend to date and available spend. Is it on the screen? I don't know if you've got it on the screen to see.
There's also a summary there from.
Yes, I've got some questions on this, but does anybody else?
Yes.
Go for it. I thought you might.
Just wondering what the LED trailer is.
So this was actually part of my question. It's to do with the Proms in the Park event. However, Proms in the Park actually came out of reserves, and this is where I'm a bit confused. So I don't know if you have had chance to, I know I sent it to you, but okay. Because obviously I think my concern is that at the moment, Park Yoga, I was a bit confused around as we agreed it in the last budget. And I was a bit confused as to why that's come out of this budget. And then also, and not last year's, because we had plenty of money in the community development budget, which is why we very quickly agreed to it.
For last year.
But it only got paid this year, so I don't know if maybe that carryover wasn't done.
Right.
And then obviously Proms in the Park, which is all the things like the LED trailer, we all came out of reserves, and I think we need it to come out of reserves now, so we actually know what's in our reserves pot, because otherwise we could be left not completely knowing. I think it's really important.
I'll speak to Capish about that and I'll come back to you.
Because as far as I know, this year, the only thing we've spent is out of our £4,000 budget is £1,000 for the Music in the Park event. And we've not spent anything else. I went back through everything and I couldn't find anywhere else that we'd agreed to spend money. Please do speak up if you think that's different. Is that what everyone else's thoughts were? So it's just the £1,000 that I think we've spent from our specific £4,000 budget on the music event. Everything else, I think we need a bit of a conversation around.
So any other invoice, so you're saying that any other invoices that have come in this year was accrued from the previous financial?
Well, I believe so, because the Park Yoga thing, we did have a brief discussion around, we definitely, excuse me, we agreed it in the December budget. So I think it was meant, and we paid no money out to Park Yoga, I believe, before that. So all of that money should have come out of that Park Yoga budget that we agreed in December last year. And then,
Sorry, so was that not carried forward? Is that a code of?
I don't know.
From last year's budget? We don't know if it's carried forward.
I don't think it was.
Thank you, Councillor Griffin. Could we just get some confirmation on that and bring it to the next one, and we'll, because as far as I know, we've got £3,000 for this committee still.
Because what normally happens in a budget, if you don't spend it in that financial year, in effect, it's lost.
Yeah.
And then it's built back into the next year, unless you actually put it down as like an earmarked
And I
reserve.
think potentially that is what should have happened. It should have gone over as an earmarked reserve, but because we know that the budget was not, it was done rather quickly and not as thoroughly as I think we'd like.
Yeah.
We probably missed a few things, so I think it's really important that we just
Okay, I'll
understand
check
that.
it out for you.
Anyone else got anything that they'd like to add on the budget?
My only other question was the neighbourhood plan expenditure. Are we anticipating, given that it's not yet been finally approved and agreed by the council, are there any more costs anticipated in the current financial year?
Councillor Aves?
I don't think there is, but I think the only person who's going to know is Teresa, so it's best if we check with Teresa, but I'm pretty sure that the money that's being passed over is the end of this one, is up to date for this one, pretty sure. Okay.
Councillor Westwood?
I may have missed it, but I'm just a bit surprised it's coming out of community development budget.
That was my next,
It's economic development, it should be coming out of.
that was kind of my next point, so I was going to say, should this not be coming out of that?
I can't see it fits into.
It's not.
Budget, hasn't it?
So, yeah,
Well, I mean, in essence, of course, it's coming out of reserves anyway, because nothing was budgeted. So it doesn't, although it's showing there, it's not actually £7,630 out of your budget.
yeah.
Or anybody's, any committee's budget, it's come out of reserves because the budget didn't allow anything. So full council resolved up to 20,000, I think it was.
Okay,
So, you know, it's not actually coming out of your budget anyway, but yeah, this is just what, you know, this is what Galfest was provided when I asked for that.
yeah.
As I said to you before, the finances over my head. So I just email Calpesh and say, can I have the reports? And he sends them to me.
That's fine. I think we,
Sorry, I can say, all I can say is back in the day when I was on the council, it always came out of economic development. That's all I can say.
Yeah, it needs to sit under it, just for clarity, not under.
I would agree with that. I think it needs to sit under ECDEV. I think it's always has sat under economic
Well, we
development.
discuss everything else. don't we?
Yeah.
So,
And all of the updates go to ECDEV, so I think it needs to sit there. Everything else, I'm assuming the one at the bottom, the switch on event is what we've currently spent out of this year's 10,000 budget. We've spent 2,000 out of it. That's what I would assume, but I just wanted to check that. Finance is also not my strong point. You laugh. Anyway, anyone else on the budget? No? Great, I will move on. So, item number, I don't know what number we're on, because it's not on here.
I need that back.
No, it's fine. So item number 7. Sorry, mine actually doesn't have numbers on. 6.2.
6.2.
Oh, sorry, to discuss the budget for next. You've got to start thinking about your budget for next year so that we can put, yes, each committee should think about its budget so we can put recommendations to finance. Yes,
Committee, so-
one of the things I want to discuss on here is that I have spoken, and I'm happy to open this up to discussion. I think, now next year's a bit of a different year, but I think we should look at having 4 major events a year. 2 of those being the Christmas lights turning on and Remembrance. So obviously those 2 events are sort of standard. 2 other events, now if that, be it Proms in the Park, be it whatever we're going to do for the kind of community mayoral event. Next year's a bit different. It's the 80th anniversary of the end of the Second World War. So I think next year there probably will be 5 larger events going forward. But I think in general, I think they should be set events and then we have a budget on top of it. That's my idea on it. I'm happy to open the floor up to other people. That's the price.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I completely agree. You look at the events we're doing, and it's great we're doing it, but every single time we take it out of reserve just because we haven't planned ahead enough. So we need to be bold about the budget, and I think we should be generally looking at a budget in a region of around £30,000. If you think about how much we've spent on events so far this year, we can play around and whittle it down if need be at the actual finance meeting, or at when we come to budget setting. Only be relatively almost like a wish list of budget here and kind of on what we would like ComDev to better deliver these events. 10 grand for the lights, 10 potentially for another community, that's 20 gone already. Proms is what, 5? There's 25, and we haven't even discussed a community development budget for the little other bits like Park Yoga. But I think it's in the region of maybe even 35. And if that's something for council to whittle down, that's something they want to do. But that's the kind of region I think we should be looking at.
I was actually thinking 40.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah, I think we've got to be realistic that whilst it's all very nice keeping things as low as possible, it doesn't help us put anything on for our community. And I just think with the events we've held this year, not just ones we've held, if you think about Lions 50th Picnic Park, how well received that was. We always said Food and River Festival was such a big success. You know, we've got a great space in the park, which we quite frankly, as a town council, do not make enough of. I think more events we can do in that way, the better.
Councillor Westbrook.
I think things have changed in the last 18 months, actually. I was actually at the Proms in the Park, and the lady from Julia House was there, and she actually had never been to our park, and she just could not believe what an amazing outdoor auditorium and arena we had. And I think, you know, we do. It's fantastic. The lights have gone in. The cafe's been a roaring success. All the work that's been put in there over the last 4 or 5 years. Hopefully, a bit more work in order to get green flag status as well. And it's a really superb summer venue. Assembly Hall is fantastic, but in the summer, we were just talking about, you know, a Park Yoga. Park Yoga is great in the summer, and it wouldn't work in the winter at all. But there are so many events, and everyone was, not only was it well attended, it was well organised, and it was just such a delight to be out there in such a lovely surrounding part of, and around the Melksham as well. It was really nice, and I think we ought to be putting more money into that budget, and I think our residents will be happy with that.
I think the one thing I would say is, and this is my personal view, but I appreciate that I've had lots of discussions. The one thing, lots of our residents don't see what their precept goes to. A lot of them don't see the work that goes on behind the scenes. The one thing that they do see is the events that we put on for them for free. That is free for them to attend. Well, ultimately, they've already paid for them. That's why they can attend them for free on the day. And I think that we are doing ourselves a disservice of having this amazing venue that we've done so much work on to get the cafe, to get the lights put in there. That it is a venue that we should be shouting about. You know, I was with some councillors who are from Chippenham and Trowbridge yesterday, and both councils were talking about them having splash pads and wanting splash pads over there, and you know how great the park is, and how everybody in the town now is in their towns are starting to come here. And I think, you know, we really need to give back to our town, you know, and I think it's our events are how we put our town council foot forward. So I'm very in support of us putting forward a sort of £40,000 budget for the budget review. That obviously will come down to some of those things will already be budgeted in, things like the Christmas lights, Remembrance, 2 other big events. There is the slightly anomaly next year of it being the 80th anniversary as well, which we know we would like to do something for. We'll talk about that later, but I think as a standard. And is it for decision or is it just discussion?
Initial
Ideas, okay.
Just to put a bit of perspective on the numbers you've been talking about, excluding the neighbourhood plan, our actual costs or spend in 2023-24, we had £7,000 of income and £32,000 worth of costs on projects, so net 25. So the sort of figures that you're talking about, 25, 30, 45 thousand pounds, is not unreasonable, realistically.
So I think if we're all happy with that, it's not actually for decision, but I think if we're all
Start discussion.
if we're all happy to start the discussion and say to Calpesh, at the moment we'd like around 40.
Are you including the Christmas lights in that, or do you want to set a separate figure for that because it's a separate the budget?
But for now, is it worth chucking it all in, and then during the budget setting, we can make a decision whether we want to ring fence or differentiate depending on the event? It might be worth now chucking it all in one. It has come out of this budget.
In which case, do we want to up it? I think was the question. Do we want to up it to 50,000 so that, because the Christmas lights event is always seen as slightly separate, isn't it? Because it's such a big event for us.
The only one you did.
Huh?
It was the only one we did, therefore that's why it's separate, I think.
I think so.
I think what we need at this moment is what your aspirations are going to be for next year, and we can start to look at the
So the
figures.
aspiration for next year is that we are actually going to hold 5 quite large events
5
next
large
year.
events.
2 of which are, I can see you're a little bit panic. They won't be as scary as they sound. Obviously 2 of which are Remembrance and Christmas. The Mayor's civic event has already been agreed, so that will go ahead. But of course, that has already technically been budgeted for from this year's budget. Thinking about it. And then
Community event.
some kind of community event, which will be Proms in the Park-esque. I know it was incredibly well received, Proms in the Park, and a lot of people have spoken to me and put it on social media that they would love it again next year. And then some sort of 80th.
Day, isn't it?
It's the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II, we're calling it, because obviously whilst it was VE Day in the United Kingdom, it wasn't the end of the Second World War everywhere. Right. But yeah, of course, the Mayor's event technically has come out of this year's budget because we've set aside 10,000 from reserves, 9,000, 10. Just a thought.
So sorry, you've got Christmas, Remembrance, Proms or similar, and 80th anniversary, and one other.
Yes, but the one other, this is what I'm a bit confused about, because it's already technically budgeted for this year. So would that just go into earmarked reserves?
PE days, wasn't it? PE day?
Yeah,
Technical
we
budget
did
next
exactly.
year's for the year afterwards.
Very good point. I would say there's 5 big events there. Should we say 50,000? And then we can obviously, when we have budget discussions, we can have those budget discussions. And yeah, when we have those.
Yeah.
Andrew.
Just from my finance head on. I would suggest that you focus on what events you want to organise and what their likely cost is going to be. And we can figure out where it comes out of budgets and reserves. And
Well, at the moment, you just want a rough figure. So I think if we have that, and then we will, when we go forward on tonight, you'll see that there's more conversations around it. But also, I think when we get to actually having the conversations around the actual budget, that's when we'll have those conversations.
Also, what we'd like to do as a council, if we, now we have an idea of the events, we can start to look at what funding there is outside to help fund some of these events for the council.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, so sorry, I just want to be totally clear. Christmas, remembrance, proms or something similar. Mayor's community event as opposed to the mayor's reception and the World War II commemorations. Yep. About 50,000.
Yeah.
Excellent, thank you.
Lovely. Right, moving on to, is everyone okay with that? Yeah, great. So moving on to number 7, which is the telephone boxes. Have we got a report on this, or is it just?
Pictures.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures.
No.
Has everyone read the report on? I'm doing 2 seconds. So for those, because I appreciate there might be people who haven't. So we do have these 2 telephone boxes. One is in Southward, which is just on Spa Road. The other one is on the corner of the Pig and Whistle, by the Pig and Whistle, basically down in Forest. One is in slightly better shape than the other, shall we say?
Yes, that's the Forest
Significantly better shape. The Forest one has had a bit of damage and vandalism. The one on Spa Road is in pretty decent shape. I will
We did have a coat of paint a year or 2 back.
There has, I know that in the report as well, there was a, sorry, yes, it did. There were also some suggestions of things that could happen in there. I will open the floor now, starting with Safi on ideas.
Okay, whilst I love the idea of turning one into a book swap, I just have visions of, we obviously have some individuals in town that do quite like setting fire to things. And I think filling a phone box of combustible material is really, I'm not happy with that. Plants grow far less simple to set fire to, but I just think we're just into potentially big headache with filling a phone box.
Not only that, it needs lots of attention. They've got one in Neston, and somebody goes down there 2 or 3 times a week sorting out because people dump books there. A lot of them are quite unsuitable, too big or whatever. And yeah, literally.
That's what I was thinking when you said unsuitable.
Anyway, it of attention. It needs constant supervision and attention. Yeah. So similarly, I don't think books is a good idea. Okay.
That's surprised you had your hand up first.
Are we being ambitious enough? So, I mean, we could put plants there and actually, you know, potentially the one that's already been made up the road there. So that can nice plants, but I suppose, especially looking at my ward, the Forest one is pretty broken. Is there a chance in any way, how easy is it to relocate? Can we have it in a better area?
We've been having conversations with people.
No, better area, it sounds like a horrible for my ward, but in a different area that's got a different kind of footfall. I just don't know if it's the right location for anything really.
I'll come back to that. Give me a second, because I'm going to go around everyone, but then I will come back to that one. Adrian, you actually have your hand up.
See, I'm going back many moons now because this has been on the agenda for a very long time. Going back to a suggestion that John had actually, which was the one opposite Canberra could be used for putting posters and things in about health for young people. And I still think that's actually quite a good idea. You've got Canberra there, you've also got the clinic there. So whether or not it's young people who are under the age of 25 or children, but telephone numbers, how to get hold of counselling, mental health things, and I do think that's in a very good place for that. The one in Forest, I actually think it does being moved is quite a good idea, but I'm sure the one in South wouldn't be difficult to actually get that up and running, particularly with help from the Canberra Centre and for youth at work. Right, one of the reasons why the post office were anxious to get rid of these telephone boxes is because they weigh well over a tonne each and they're set in concrete. So removing one to another site will cause a lot of problems. I think we've had some experience of that recently, haven't we?
What we're talking about.
Yeah, so I think the main problem with the one in Forest is it could do with some CCTV on it, and then perhaps we would all feel easier about anything happening in it at all. But I would suggest flowers. That was what I originally thought when I proposed it, because flowers brightening up that area is at the time it seemed like a good idea because it's a pretty dangly area in places. But now that we've got Bridie on board with community conversations, I think it might be an idea to ask her if she can help with that, because not only will Wiltshire Council probably put some money towards it, but also it could be part of the community garden setup.
So I'm gonna jump to Hayley, who may not know this yet. Hayley's actually got some experience with phone boxes and things that have been done with them. So I'm going to bounce over there. One of the issues with we discussed potentially giving it to community conversations. There might be some issues around giving it over to them, because obviously it involves some sort of asset transfer.
Well, I wasn't thinking of actually giving it to them, but just encouraging the people who do the garden to put plants in it and maybe look after it, and eventually build up a band of volunteers who will care for it.
Here's some other ideas.
I wouldn't say I've got experience in telephone boxes.
Okay.
However, I think going up and down the UK, you've obviously all seen the red telephone boxes. The one thing that's very unique about them is they draw in tourists. People love them. I think in terms of what you could do in Melksham, I think there's some quite unique ideas that you could do. I think there are some what I would call very template ideas, which is where people put defibrillators in them or they will put books in them. But I think that's just the norm of what every other town does. And I think it would be worth working with some other officers to really explore whether we can do something quite unique with them. Exploring whether they can be relocated potentially, and be aware it is day one. But it might be the case that we could just think a little bit outside the box of what we could do with these and actually make them quite a unique asset within Melksham. So I know, places down in Cornwall have turned them into some income for councils down there, where they turn them into a coffee shop, or they turn them into, a coffee shop and an art, which is quite quirky, or they put another one next to it, which makes it look like it's an art installation where people are going and they are taking selfies and they're uploading onto social media, and it's all about getting that digital footprint. Some of those concepts might not be right for Melksham, but I think it's worth exploring on a wider opportunity of what we can do, and go from there.
Sorry, yes.
I was going to say, I think to try and make a decision on this tonight, right, there are so many other things we could do. I think we should just take our time and explore lots of different ideas. If everybody has a little look on Google and things and what else is going on out there, rather than go, right, we're going to shove some plants in them or whatever. We haven't done anything with them for a while, so
I agree. I think I'm in that two minds of one of the let's just do something, and the other one is get it right. Tom, I'll go to you first, and then I'll.
I think we do a bit of both. I think the one in Forest is nowhere near being ready to do anything. So yeah, it'd be great if Hayley could maybe go in and have some sports, even if it's not a permanent thing just for now, because it's empty and it's done. But like AJ, is it worth us here agreeing that we're more than happy at this time for Youth on Camera to use that if they wish for some posters or whatever conditions they would, if they want to put it up there, just chuck them up in the windows. If they would like it this time, someone might as well use it. It's not going to damage it. It's not going to make any issues. Otherwise, that's going to be empty for another month, 2 months, probably not till next year now. if they can use it, would we not let them?
Can I suggest that we approach Carl Houghton, because part of his brief is community events and community care and one thing and another. And he might have some ideas, and he might be interested.
Not a bad idea. So in that case, I guess if everyone's happy to, the kind of motion that we put forward is to instruct the officers to speak with Carl to see what can be done and Bridie to see what can be done in the interim, whilst also looking for a longer term solution. What I do want to do though is put a date on that we get these answers, because I think it's very easy to kick these sorts of things down the road. So I would say by the next community development, can we have a report on potential things for a decision that day? Because I just think otherwise what we're getting is it's just getting clicked again and again and again. I mean, it's been on the agenda on every single ComDev meeting I've been on. So I think it's I agree. I think it's very easy for us to say, let's just put something in them. But there are potentials there. I mean, I know places that use them as coffee shops and I know they work brilliantly.
Yeah, how about that just one, can we just change the word into Spurgeon, just in case Carl Howard isn't the one who actually
Of course.
deals with that, just to make it clear that we're using the charity. And also, are we able to, if it's something easy and it's not gonna do any damage, can we say if we engage with Spurgeon and they find a use for it, can they just use it rather than wait for it to come back to ComDev?
If we can give delegated authority to officers to say that that we're happy for them to engage with Spurgeons and with community conversations to find an interim solution. Is that the right word? Yep. And we are happy for them to go ahead and do something. And then for the next ComDev meeting, which I believe is around the 7th of December, to have a report on potential opportunities for the boxes that have a wider brief for decision. Everyone happy with that? Yep. So I'm happy. Sarah?
Just an idea that occurred to me, obviously in the interim, this won't happen immediately, but because we're talking to Councillor Stokes about the Youth Advisory Board and the event with that might be some, like a little mini vote or something that we could use to get young people's ideas about how we use them, especially if both Spurgeons and community conversations are going to be taken over in the interim. That might be something that they could have input in as to how they would like to use it, because it sounds like a lot of it's veering in that direction.
I'm happy with that. I'm not sure how we put that into the motion, but
Yeah, maybe it doesn't need to be part of the motion.
Andrew will make up some good.
That can come out of the report, couldn't it?
Yeah, it definitely
Yeah.
needs to be in the motion as such.
Good idea.
Yes, it is a good idea.
it is a good idea. Just the community groups.
If you put it as community groups, it's a returning one, isn't it?
Yeah, good point. Community youth groups,
Yeah, that's more. Yeah.
although community conversations isn't a community youth group.
Well, by saying community groups, you're not committing the officer to speak to every single community group in the area, just the ones that are
Their own
in
decisions.
line with the discussions that have been held and the suggestions that have come forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been too complicated, Spurgeon and a community group charity. I just said if we're being into the word,
just say charity.
I just,
Because technically community conversations aren't charity.
no, I know, can we just, can we
So
just?
yes, charities or community groups.
Thank you.
Yeah, happy with that. So can you just read the motion out for me?
Okay, officers to speak with charities, stroke community groups, for potential interim uses. Reports on long-term use for the next meeting, delegated authority to officers to authorise interim use.
Yeah.
Obviously I'll word that a bit more.
I'm happy to propose that. Have I got a seconder?
Yeah.
Take anyone who's got their hand up. Great. All those in favour? Great. Happiness. Moving on. Number 8. The Assembly Hall bookings. To receive a report on the Assembly Hall bookings. Has everyone read this?
I'll just ask Brian to do a report really what goes on there, because members have always said that they're not aware of what's happening in the Assembly Hall. I'll just start bringing it more to a committee.
Anyone got any comments on it? That's the price.
Thank you very much. It's just a question, if we can, just please tell me to be quiet. It's good we can do that for this committee. Is there any chance at assets, if we can get this information on, can we get like every time we have an assets meeting, have a report on how much we've spent, how much it's made or whatever? Because it just seems, if we're doing reports in December, that's great. At the moment, we're looking at investing potentially. But just because we got this, can we start doing a maybe a finance report?
To be honest, we have sort of between us discussed that, and we were debating which committee it should go to, whether it is an asset or whether it's a finance committee, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So it's an asset that.
I would, we've always
Discuss assets if they happen to be in the room.
So why not both?
You happy for that to come to assets?
Yes, yes.
yeah, just thought it'd be a really good thing to have then, always understanding.
Oh, no.
Thank you.
So a report on income.
Yeah, if we got this information, it'd be great to have a report income, then we know where we are.
With, what?
Just whenever we, in between each meeting. If everyone's happy with that.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. So I'm just breaking my pen. I'm having a really good day. Oh, thank
I
you.
do wonder whether or not we don't need the contact name in there. I think that's a little bit.
Yeah, I just looked at that one and thought, can we not have the contact name in there?
I think,
Given that event,
yeah.
yeah, I agree. Is there any way we can get that without the contact name in there of who the person is, given what that second event is?
I'm not sure if it's.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's.
Blind package you can go
Yes.
for. It's my invite, that's what I want to know, if there's mine there. Yeah, I know, I realise that.
That's why you didn't get an invite.
So I was thinking I'm not sure that actually it's good to put a contact name in there like that.
There's GDPR in it.
Particularly as it's sort of like jumping out at me at the moment, and actually I've put the Assembly Hall about 5 times this year for different things.
I'm not sure whether how the system works. Brian obviously produced a report. Obviously a contact number is in the system when the booking is made. It may be that the report can't be done without it, but we'll find out.
If we could try, because I do think there might be a reason why you don't want a contact name on there. Andrew, you prefer?
Yeah, it seems like column that's headed contact seems to be a mix between organisation
Yeah.
and the contact within that organisation. I think it's quite appropriate for
True.
the organisation.
Yes, I agree.
Like the Model Car Club
Yeah.
or the society or something like that.
That's all
Good
it is.
lots.
Yeah, I would assume that's been done because they didn't know the name, but so they put down person's name, we booked it, but I think we should, yeah, I agree. And actually, if it is a private person that's booked it, I think it should just say private, sort of an individual.
In fact, I think I'm the only person who's named.
It does seem that you are.
Oh, no, there's
Oh,
one
no,
there.
there's one there.
Don't show. There's a couple,
Yeah.
but I think we need to, I think we need,
It's also- Yeah, I've booked it all sorts of different things, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there's also 1 or 2 email addresses in there as well. If it can be done that you can just remove that, I'm pretty sure you can, when you put up the report, you can just remove contact.
So you can.
I'm sure you can. If not, sorry, it might just be a job of just black in it. There is a proper name for that.
Redacted.
Thank you very much. The names, so we can keep organisations on there, but if it is a private hire or some private information related to an individual, we can just redact it. Is that the word?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I should mention it to Brian
Yeah.
as I see him, but
Cheers. But it's really good.
I have to say, Jack, I think your faith in our computer systems is touching.
Okay. Okay.
Anything else on that?
That's very exciting.
No. Moving forward. Sorry. Lovely. Problems in the park to review the event and for decision on holding the event in 2025. Isn't us committing to money, I should say. This is us committing to whether or not we'd like to hold the event.
I'll go first. Having attended the event with so many colleagues here tonight, I think it was absolutely brilliant, and we have to do it again this year. That's my opinion.
Yes.
Tom, want to go first, Jen? You see, but sure. Yeah, it was amazing. It was a very good day. A lot of people were very happy with it, and not just this. I know me and you have been speaking about this, Jenny, just arranging this meeting, but I really think that the screen went down to such a storm. We should potentially look at doing more of this kind of stuff with screens, because people do like it, and it is expensive to keep on doing consistent events. So maybe in the future, some kind of investment into that could be very good. Is that enough? You seem to be giving me the look.
No, you go ahead, you're fine.
Loads of them.
Obviously, I proposed this event, and I am amazed at how brilliantly it went, and the amazing feedback I've had. Sarah, do you want to read out this feedback? Do you want me to read it out?
I would, my internet just completely died.
So we did manage to get
that far because I'm ugly. But suffice it to say, I think it just says, yes, you are all wonderful and we had a lovely time. It's pretty much the summary of it all. Sadly, nobody filled in the online questionnaire that I put out there, so there isn't any like numerical data. It was all comments from emails and on Facebook, but it was all, you know.
I think it was extremely well received in the town.
You really enjoyed it. They definitely would like to do it again. They want more things on a screen. Eurovision came up.
Eurovision came up a lot. Eurovision and football came up a lot as well. I know. The only thing with Eurovision is it's in early May. Given a logic, it would probably be the 2nd, 3rd of May. Might be quite tired.
Oh, God, yeah.
There's obviously a consensus that it was a good event, well received and very popular. And I absolutely agree that if at all possible, we should continue and do it again next year. With a bit more planning and time available, is it possible to get some sort of sponsorship or funding in to reduce the net cost to the council?
The next thing I was about to bring up on it is actually something that Christina highlighted to me. Whilst it was an incredibly successful event, its ROI wasn't fantastic, as in its return on investment wasn't, other than for the town. And whilst not everything I think should be about making sure that we're recouping our money, I do think that that event was potentially more expensive than it needed to be. And whatever route we go down, be it purchasing our own screen, which I know I've had multiple discussions with multiple people about, and it is something I think we need to explore, but it's probably not for any time in the next kind of year or so, but we'll have those conversations. I do think that looking at what we can do in terms of some kind of sponsorship around it could potentially be a way forward. But I think the overall consensus is yes, we're holding it again next year. Hang on. Oh, that was a race.
I agree, actually, and I think on return on investment is something that's really important. And there was a bar there, and I don't quite know what the situation was with that bar, but certainly if you bring a bar into an event, you would expect either for them to pay a fee or for them to be giving you some share of the profits. A couple of stalls, nothing huge, 3 or 4 stalls, you know, I think are the sorts of things that you would be looking at, which would give you some return back on it.
Yeah, I think that's a piece.
I don't think you should ever bring a bar into an event which you don't get any money back from.
Great. I think a few stalls is quite nice as well, particularly stalls that fit the theme, so kind of popcorn, sweets and candy floss. And flags. That was what we were missing, flags.
Yeah.
Yes, and this, by the way, this sounds not negative, I'm just generally curious. So every time we do an event, we tend to have 1 or 2 people complain. Did no one at all complain about the event? We'd always tend to have one, and that's quite an achievement, because no matter what, we get complaints about Christmas, we get complaints about everything. Like when it comes to events, someone's unhappy, and it's amazing that we did something that there were no complaints
I think-
genuinely.
Only negative thing I saw from absolutely anybody is that it was a bit chilly.
Yeah, and now
That's about the only thing I saw.
That's quite an achievement, so like genuinely, I know that sounds like I've been able to begin with, but that's.
We'll sell really big flags and then people can use them as blankets.
I brought a blanket, so.
There was one sort of odd comment, a couple of teenagers cycled through at one point, and one of them said, is this a cult gathering? Because everyone was sort of standing around waving flags in the dark with hoods up because it was cold. And it was, but I think we managed to assuage. Yeah, that was it really. And then they were,
I think that's the only negative thing I
Yeah,
saw.
yes, that's why I thought it's quite a.
So yeah, I think the overall consensus there seems to be that we're doing it next year. Do you need a vote on it or?
Definitely want to, well, at some point, not necessarily now, but. I don't
Let's
know.
vote.
Yes,
All those in favour of holding Proms in the Park next year, hang on a minute.
No, that's fine, that's fine, I'm checking what the vote, yeah. that's fine.
Just that you want to hold Proms in the Park next year, we are not committing to money. So I'll propose it as. Can someone second the vote?
Yeah,
Andrew will second it, he got his hand up first. All those in favour? There you go.
I think just a social media reminder, it gets cold by 9:30.
Yeah, sorry.
Bring your hot water
That's
bottle.
right, Adrian had too much Prosecco, she was warm enough and that's.
My feet were-
So I heard she was spilling secrets.
She needs
Oh, yeah,
warming.
I can't tell the time. Wasn't that big of a secret and I've just told the whole town. Anyway, moving on, Remembrance Sunday. To receive an update on Remembrance Sunday and to include the details of the salute and readings for decision as required. How's it coming? How's it coming on? Do you think we're all set? Is there anything you need a decision on?
do good. Road closures are a go. Salute, first wreath laying or organised. PA's booked, catering's booked, orders of service already. Charlie from the church says he'll be in touch with both you, Tom, and Brian Matthew for readings potentially.
Yeah, that's very true.
Everybody just to respond with their availability, and that's it, really. The only thing for Remembrance, which also applies to Christmas, because I've kind of put road closures under one banner to kind of link them together. We are at the point now where we'll potentially be, we're just checking on whether we need to do individual letters to every single household. If we do, that's obviously going to be quite an operation. But either way, I know at a previous events working group, we did discuss about councillors, including yourself, Mr. Mayor. That's only there, isn't it? Sorry. Going to particularly the businesses that are somewhat problematic every year, especially for Christmas. I have already been in touch with the campus, Crown House, and the King's Arms, because they're sort of the three main that are most affected. But yes, going around and speaking to businesses, hopefully handing out letters to do with road closures at some point. Is that still?
Is that for
appropriate?
Remembrance or for Christmas?
For both, but Christmas is obviously a bigger deal. At the moment, we've only got the road closure in place for Remembrance. They haven't put Christmas out there yet. Obviously, it's a 2-hour window, so it's not as big a deal, but we will still need to put letters out there.
Obviously, we do. My thing on Remembrance is that I would say is that it is a big nationwide closure.
It should be a surprise.
It's also, I've got my whole life, we've been closing the roads for Remembrance. I mean, we have for Christmas too, but the Christmas date changes. Remembrance Sunday is a pretty.
I don't think Remembrance has been the issue, has it?
No, I think Remembrance we don't need to worry about so much.
Christmas is.
Yeah.
Christmas,
That's
going to be a slightly bigger.
just so everyone knows, we have got someone to receive the salute as well. It is not who usually receives it. It is somebody different, but that's okay. And we also, for ours, our new MP is coming to our one. He wanted to come to it, so he's coming to ours, which is very nice. See, Tom will do what the mayor does.
Brian will be reading at the church.
Okay, I'm sure he'll love it.
I'm sure.
He's a deeply religious man, so I'm sure he will very much like reading at church. He also has a lot of connections with the military. I also already have his wreath. Don't ask me why. I think that's everything for remembrance. Is there anything else you think we need to discuss for remembrance? Nothing for decision, I don't think.
No, I don't think there's anything for decision. We're just, you know, doing stuff with it.
Great.
If I can just on the road closure, if anything contentious, obviously with some of the business that seem to be affected more, as this, we'll have a little chat and we'll organise. I'm happy to go around personally and speak to them if that helps.
And also with the Christmas thing, if you do have to contact local businesses specifically, living on the high street as I do, I'm very happy to get involved in that.
That'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Seeing as we're moving on to Christmas, hang on, you talking Christmas or remembrance?
There is remembrance, just
Okay.
it's a quickie. I don't know whether or not we've done it recently, but we certainly used to in the past put a note out to all the residents of Place Road. It's a private road. We have no right to walk over it, and there is always one person who doesn't allow us to. But it's always nice, I think, to put those out to the whole of Place Road.
We do have a letter ready for all addresses in the road closure area.
Yeah, it is only Place Road because it's not in the road closure because it's private, I think.
I'll just make sure that they're encompassed in the.
They can't go anywhere because they can't get out one end and the road's closed the other end. So you just drive up and down the road.
Delivered to.
It's only about about 10 houses, I think.
Do we advertise it?
Sorry?
Is it worth putting in the paper if people do complain? Is it worth just making sure it definitely gets out there and there's no?
Advertising the road closure.
I don't know if we normally do that.
TRO in the Melksham News.
Jack, you want to say?
Jack, do you want to get involved in that?
What's that, sorry?
TRO in the Melksham News?
But yeah, I don't know if that's something we normally do or if it's something appropriate, if it's to make sure everyone gets it. I don't know how much it costs either, but we already have.
I've already shared it today on socials because we got it today.
Yeah.
I've scheduled it forward on socials. It's on our website. I'm putting it in our newsletter pages. It will come out on the 24th. It will be in the 24th of October.
It will be needed. Okay, yes.
We need to do it for remembrance. I don't think it would be a bad idea to do it for Christmas. Yeah.
Definitely for Christmas.
But I think for remembrance, it's a nationwide,
Yeah.
everybody knows, every single town, particularly in Wiltshire when we're such a military presence in our town. I think it's quite a well-known thing. We shut roads down.
I thought it's something just to.
I think for Christmas, it's very, I'm talking Christmas, everyone happy to move on. Has anyone else got anything else from the remembrance? No, so Christmas, also just for an update on the Christmas lights, the Christmas carols and songs, for the event and for decisions as required. Sarah, how do you?
All of the above that I said about road closures, except that they haven't put that out to consultation yet, so we don't have a deadline for that, but we'll do the same process, but bigger. I've collated all of the registrations of interest for stalls and for entertainment. And a call out for volunteers. We've had a few volunteers register. Pushing that a bit more, I think as it gets closer to the day, we'll get a bit more interest.
There are some community groups who are quite interested, I think, in upping their volunteer levels.
Yeah.
I think they would be worth getting in
I
contact.
know the rugby and the scouts.
Yeah.
Are, or the cadets, I get mixed up. Strong young people would like to help.
Slightly different uniforms.
Yeah, we're in touch with them. I think the cadets have a stall anyway, so they'll be sort of aware of it. We're going to have a conversation about the grotto at some point. That's in hand, and the tree and all of that. That's going to be a separate meeting, I think.
Yeah.
There's a few things that I think will be covered in that, so we don't need to make a decision about that today. We've got the face painter, the stilt walkers, mascot, the DJ, stage PA. All of that is ready. Could you talk a little bit about what you've been doing with the stall holders? Chrissy was first.
Yeah, so I have been working through the list of stallholders who have applied. We have assigned the spaces 13 charities we've managed to accommodate, 2 of which will be sharing table space with the information stand for Melksham Town Council. We have allocated 5 food stalls outside, including a juice bar and a few other food and drink and gift stalls. But we've accommodated everybody who came last year, every Melksham organisation who managed to make the deadline prior to the deadline being cut off. And Julia's House, we offered them a full stall inside the Assembly Hall, which they have accepted.
Can I just come in on the stalls bits, having managed the incoming vehicles for the stalls last 2 years, just some feedback on that we really do need to kind of read the riot act for these stall holders, that if you are booked in to arrive at 9, you need to be arriving at 9. It was carnage, and people turning up all different, Sarah, you know, you were there with me. People turn up all different times, and then also the kind of understanding that once you're unloaded, you need to go. Leaving your car parked there for an hour was not, so I think maybe the communication piece that we give to them is maybe not too flowery, maybe just very to the point, that this is what's going to happen, and this is the expectation, and this is what you will do. And if you don't turn up in your allotted time, you're going to have to wait.
I
Because it just caused me on campus and traffic coming in from the campus. Remember, we had Paul's taxi on the corner, and it was just.
I know it's a little different, but I do know the letter that went out last year was actually quite good and quite firm. So I think it's maybe sending more than one, and just making sure that we're reminding them. I know the Food and River Set Festival send out a few and make big announcements.
At least if you've done it, you can, at least when you're turning around going, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just think it's, you know, if you send it out once, you send it out a couple of times, then, you know, hopefully everyone reads it. You know, there'll be a few that don't. As Sarah said, I have asked for us to have a specific Christmas meeting. I think almost everybody who sits on this committee sits on events as well, and hopefully most people will be volunteering to have a meeting, because the next meeting of ComDev is actually the Monday before Christmas, the Christmas event. So I think we need one probably the week before that, maybe 2 weeks before Christmas, just to make sure that we've got all our volunteers nailed down, everyone knows what they're doing. Just to know, and we'd obviously have Andy there, and making sure that we know exactly who's doing what, because I think it can get a little bit confusing on the day, and we want it to run as smoothly as possible. Tom.
Thank you very much. First of all, so we obviously be involved in the cadets. Is that the air cadets or non-cadets? Was it both?
Yes.
I know normally the air cadets are really, which is great, but I met with the armed cadets recently, and they always maybe if the council have been great involving them as well in the air cadets. So I'm sure the army cadets are more than happy to be involved and
I
support.
think it's the army cadets
the
that
army
have the
side.
stands this time.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, it's normally, as long as we engage with both of them, 'cause I know they're both very keen on helping, and we're not favouring one or the other. That's all on that. With the events working group, we're going to look at whatever we call them now. We're going to look at doing that close in the time, just purely because we don't really have an update yet on the growing of the tree, and they're both very cool. Weymouth. Is it worth having a meeting more immediate just to confirm?
So I don't think we necessarily need to have that.
No, but
I think, I mean, it's being said,
Referring to when I said another meeting.
I think that meeting needs to take place sooner rather than later.
Yeah, really ASAP.
I'm sure it's.
That meeting's already been requested today.
Amazing.
Fantastic, thank you.
I think it's just, yes, I agree, because the grotto does seem to cause problems every year. So let's get it nailed down.
It's really good to have that nailed down. I wouldn't hear last year, but I know last year there were.
We make sure Father's Christmas comes through.
Yeah, we'll also make sure that Santa can get through.
Yeah.
There was quite a discussion at the last meeting about a viewing area for disabled. I just wondered if there was any.
We decided to not do it this year, but to reach out to some of our community who are disabled to find out what would be best for them. Because as Councillor Stokes pointed out, none of us are visibly disabled. There might be some who are having visible disabilities, but I think it's best if we can have people who actually know. I don't think we discussed this, but we did look at potentially doing something for people who have some sort of disability. I'm sure you've been to the Mountain event, I know you're from here, it's huge. It can get a little bit, at the end, can be a bit disorientating for some people. But ultimately, I don't think we've got enough time to organise anything suitable. So we'll look to actually go out and speak to people, you know. There are lots of charities that do these sorts of things, so I think that was the decision we made. Anything else on Christmas before we move on? No? Fabulous. So, so the next one is the civic reception and the mayor's community event. Tom, we're very lucky you have Tom here. So we can discuss this. And actually, given what we've just discussed, I think that's fine. I was thinking about maybe moving, switching, no, I can't speak English now, switching the two around, but no. So the mayor's community event, obviously, technically it is a full council event. Do you want to talk through, I don't know if you want to talk, what essentially the only thing we need to decide today, I think, is the date. And then it's probably a delegated authority situation where we give it over to our officers to, you might want to talk through some of your ideas that you've had.
Yeah, I'm more than happy with that. Yeah, so we have a budget of £10,000 that this council very kindly put towards it. So I've been speaking to residents about what they want, and the reason I wanted to originally change the mayor's reception was to provide an event that I think the community would like. And really what I'm looking for, or what I think it should be, I'm willing to have input, is something on the, you know, what we used to have within Party in the Park. So really I'm looking for a stage, acts all throughout the day. A relatively paid down for now, it's the first one we're doing, so I think we need to be very mindful as we're doing it, it will be complicated. We can get Craig to, I'm sure he'll have his own bar. The amount of people coming in potentially provide a second bar, and maybe we take some kind of profit out of it to bring some kind of return investment. I'm open or don't mind on that one. To the corner to the side, small fair for children, but essentially allow people to come in for free. If they want, bring their own food, bring their own drink, and a bit like with the proms, come and sit down and just enjoy the park, enjoy music all day. They can come and go as they please, have an all day event there, potentially one or two, simple like a burger van. But that is the kind of idea I think really it should be. When I talk to residents, they're excited by that kind of thing. And I ask them very openly what they are looking for. And also personally, I know originally we were calling it the mayor event or whatever we call it, because it was instead of the civic ceremony. I don't really care in any way that it's tied to, I mean, whoever's going to be mayor next year. I think it should be more on the lines of that we can't call it Party in the Park. That's something that was already a thing. But Melksham Fest or something in the lines of that, I'd much rather call it something a bit more neutral, a bit more for the community. I don't think it should be anything the mayor should be owning. They have their own civic ceremony, which they have before the election. But really, that's my idea. I'm ready to be open on that, but what it's pretty much a music festival all day. Oh, and a date, so we discussed 21st of June, I would like to look at that date as well, for clarity.
The 21st of June is a Saturday. Obviously, it's the longest day of the year, so it's quite a nice sort of, we can even call it sort of a midsummer festival, because I think that gives it a nice way to look around it. I'm going to say, I'm well aware that there are some things. So do you want to come in on
Yes,
this?
so I would just say a name along, there is already an event with that name elsewhere in the county.
Yeah.
So that obviously might need a little bit of adjustment, and I would just suggest from an events point of view, just looking around and seeing what else is happening in that time of the month, just because you wouldn't want your audience to maybe be split between multiple events, especially if there was something elsewhere that maybe attracted, you know, bigger acts or bigger audiences that would attract more. So I think a little bit of research around the dates might just say perhaps pushing it into July, perhaps, might just give you a little bit more of an opportunity not to clash with other events.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I don't care if it's in June or July, to be completely honest. I'm pretty open when it is. I just think it's an event that would be great for the town. I'm not completely bothered by if it's not on the 21st. Again, I'd be open to whatever you guys put forward. But that's still the kind of idea of what I'm looking for for the event.
Yeah, the only reason I'm erring away from calling it anything to do with the mayor is that it's post-election. Now, we don't know what's going to happen after the election, but I just think it's much easier to have it as a more generic name. Because we don't know who's going to be what's going to happen, and maybe that they are very anti it. I'm sure they're not, but they could be. I don't think there's any decisions for us to make there in that case. Jack, you look like you've got something you want to say.
Well, no, because it's not for us to really decide that, it's for full council, but I wonder if the decision we make tonight is to give authority to the officers and Tom, and I think we've already done this anyway, but to go away and put together what the event is, and then bring it to that full council meeting.
Do you remember, did we give delegated authority to officers?
I can't remember. All I remember is it was the people to go away, come up with ideas and then come
Do you
back.
remember what day? If we
Well, I
gave
can have a look at the
delegated
last
I was going to say, if we haven't, can we not just here now propose that we go to full council and put together a music festival on a budget of £10,000?
Well, we've already got the budget.
Yeah, but like,
My only problem with it going to full council is you're suddenly opening it up to so many voices in a room.
I'm happy to
Actually coming back to it, or do you not think it matters?
No perception.
I mean, normally once you've agreed your budget and you just go and Dave just crack on with it.
I mean, this was really just for us to hear some updates, not really for any decisions to be
You made
made.
no resolution last time. It was merely
So which-
outlined his vision. Members wanted a review of the. Oh, no, sorry. That's actually the reception.
So in which
Sorry.
case do we want to make a motion that we give delegated authority to officers to come up with a plan?
yes,
So bring it, would you like it to go to full council or do you want it to come to her?
no, yes, I was going to suggest, can we, we've got the budget, we've got full council approval, they don't need any more input. I was going to say, can we still have a guidance and approve and put a motion forward that we spend that £10,000 for the community event for a music festival, for a delegate authority to.
Can we not call it a music festival? My only thing
Whatever.
being is whilst there will be music there, that makes it a very different thing.
Can I just confirm, I swear we did. We did definitely budget for it, because that meeting minute just said.
That's-
that definitely- Yeah.
Tom, can you remember when you brought it to full council?
It wasn't last full council, it's the one before.
Yes, it
wasn't it?
was, yeah.
Because that's one of the last Dev meeting. we were
So
looking
the
at.
August full council, was it? Maybe. I just don't feel like it was September, that we've also had so many full council meetings, I can't actually remember them all. We definitely did approve it because we went back and forth on the
Yeah, I
amount.
think we did.
We did. Mayor's section.
There we go.
Suppose, civic.
You allocate, you budgeted, the sum to be allocated in the next year's budget. You haven't actually
Yeah, I thought
allocated
that
any
because
money.
Okay.
We had a figure,
Yeah.
but because it's in next year, we've got to remember to put that in the budget.
That's fine, I think it was, okay.
The problem with that, of course, is that it means
There's
Any-
nothing to
any-
start on it now.
exactly anything that's done before the budget, we haven't got the money for it.
It's go in the budget though, doesn't it? That has to be put in the budget, it's agreed.
Yes, but what I'm saying is we can't then make any
Technically, we-
arrangements until the
Next
until the
Well, you
start of
only
the next
can't
new
pay
year.
for it, surely.
Yeah.
Surely you can make the arrangements but not pay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me think about that.
Yeah, that's fine.
There's a way.
My only comment on dates would be, and it goes back to what Christina was saying really, is not so much looking at the other towns as well, but you need to find out when Carnival is, when the Shambles is, when the Fern River Festival
Shambles is May.
Yeah, all right, but I'm just saying, you need to have all of these before you decide on what, I don't know when Carnival is, the festival will be 30th and 31st of August.
I think going forward, I think all of the major events we're doing in every ComDev, we should have an update on them, which is why I think it should come to this committee. I don't think it needs to go to full council. That doesn't necessarily mean that anything's for decision. It's just an update on where we are on everything, don't you think? So are you happy for us to set a motion then to give delegated authority to officers to start planning an event and work with the mayor, I think, because I think it has to be working with Tom. I'm also happy to work with you on it as well as chair of the committee to create the event, but I'm really keen to give delegated authority to our officers. I don't think we should be having. Are you happy with that, Tom?
Yeah, I just I completely agree, and normally obviously we don't allow, and it isn't proper for councillors to be telling officers what to do behind closed doors, but through this, if we're happy and we're having the motion that we can talk and maybe we can have a conversation with officers to councillor, maybe normally it would be a council decision, but if they're happy for me to kind of take it on, I would change the wording from mayor to Tom, just because I'm not the mayor next year and still be planned.
No.
I'd like to still
I think it's only, for me, I don't think it's about any one councillor giving officers,
it's just allowing to work on that person.
I don't think that's giving them any direction. I actually think it's more about, because this is such a brand new event and actually there's very limited, you know, with Proms in the Park, it's very obvious what we were doing.
Yeah.
With Christmas, it's very obvious what we're doing. This is such a broad and wide range of what could this be. I mean, essentially, we were just giving Christina a £10,000 budget and said, go wild. I mean, and you're welcome to do so, and we'd love it to see what you come up with, but I'm also well aware that that's a bit frightening within your first 2 weeks of starting.
You could just say consultation with you and.
Yeah, okay, so to give delegated authority to officers to plan the event in consultation with, do you want it to say Jenny and Tom, just so it's clear?
Councillor Westwood, Councillor Brown.
Yes, obviously. Is everyone happy with that? If I propose it, Tom, do you want to second it?
Go on then.
All those in favour? Be free. See what you can come up with. You're like, oh my God.
So was that unanimous? Ron?
Yes, it was, sorry. Lovely. So 80th anniversary of the end of World War II. I have asked for this to be put on the agenda. I think we are starting to rebuild the bridges that we maybe broke a little bit this year, but I think not only is it massively important that we do something to commemorate the end of World War II. What date is it? So the 8th of May is the actual end, is VE Day, VJ Day is in August, but I think we need to do it with VE Day. I think the rest of the country, from what I've seen from events, they're all taking place around the bank holiday weekend. Again, I appreciate that's a bit of an awkward weekend for us, because that makes it the 3rd, 4th and 5th of May. Councillors will probably be rather tired that weekend, but it is what it is. We can't change when the end of World War II was.
Just mention something that another council did, which was really, really successful and quite easy to do. They just did like a picnic in the park. So you provide the tables, you provide the bunting, and then you just invite families to turn up and have their own picnics. Big massive picnic.
Yeah.
Bunting.
I think a second, Andrew has had his hand up for a little while.
I appreciate that it is the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II. But I think particularly with the current conflict in Ukraine, it would be good if we could put more of an emphasis on 80 years of peace in Europe. Rather
You
than,
can say that, unfortunately, not at the moment.
Yeah.
but rather than
I think
celebrating the end of a war.
I understand that. I think it's very different on this. My personal view is this is a very different thing. I think if we were I think remembrance is becoming that, and I think this is a very specific date about a very specific thing. I'm very keen that we speak to all of our military veterans groups, all of our cadets that we've got. But World War II is a different thing. It isn't commemorating, that's hard to say, our military. That's what Remembrance Day is for. This is very significantly about the end of a world war. Tom, I'll go Tom, Safi, Jack, and then we'll bring it around.
Yeah, I agree. Jenny, I think that's important. There's a couple of things I completely agree. We need to make sure we're speaking to the correct stakeholders. We're talking to the cadets. We're talking to people that, not saying it doesn't mean more to them, but they have maybe a more close knit tie day to day, and they'll have a really strong, good idea, no doubt, of what we can do. Just on what you've said, Andrew, I don't disagree. There's something there potentially. I would disagree on that exact date because I think it's a very specific World War II date. But we have the Armed Forces Day, which we didn't do anything last year. And talking to the cadets, they were very keen on doing, maybe starting some kind of yearly event through Armed Forces Day. So I'd suggest we also engage with the same kind of people and see if we can get something wrong there, because Armed Forces Day is every single year. And maybe that will make you a bit more comfortable in what you're trying to deliver there, because I think there's something there. I think it's important to celebrate the peace and celebrate what our troops have been doing. So I think they keep very separate, and I agree with what Jenny proposed. I think that's a pretty good idea. But talking about what you're on, I think we should engage with the same people and put together some kind of plan, big or small, for Armed Forces Day, in which talk to the cadets. They're very keen in being involved, and we can do something quite spectacular for a relatively small amount of money, because the amount they would do for us.
Yep.
So I don't know if we can add that into some kind of, I know it's not Armed Forces Day item, but if we could bring that in somehow, that might be a way forward.
Can I make a suggestion? If somebody comes from somewhere and celebrates this every year,
Of course.
so May the 9th is obviously Liberation Day in Guernsey, and depending on what the anniversary is, depends on the scale of the gatherings and the celebrations that take place. So this year was rather more scaled back because of the 80th year being obviously next year. But it's always is a really big occasion, and it is a really big thing that residents really pull together and celebrate. Yes, we're unfortunate over there, we have bank holidays, so that does help. But things that work over there are like parades of old military vehicles. People love that kind of thing, old military bikes and stuff. There will be a whole heap of people who live in this county that will have those vehicles locked away in their garages, who would love the opportunity to be able to get them out. So you could, you know, make a big thing of them coming through the town. Obviously, you don't have to have any road closures or anything for it. You know, we don't have, we do around the entire island in Guernsey, and there are no road closures, but people know it's happening and take their time and know it's going to be slow moving traffic. Street parties, like Tracy was saying about having a party in the park. But it's become much more of a community-led event over there now, where people almost make their own entertainment as such. I mean, yeah, you have bands in the evenings and stuff like that, but I think if we look at the model that Guernsey and Jersey both carry out on May the 9th, some of the stuff that they do, you can probably get some really good inspiration for really easy ways to have a good event with all the groups they've got.
Yeah, I like it. I did wonder, I'm not gonna lie, I did look up to see how much it was to get a Spitfire.
Yeah,
It's not cheap.
You can apply to the armed forces.
Correct.
Or apply
Fly
fast. There's a period of time to do it, and you can apply to all militaries.
I mean, I just want to fly in on a Spitfire.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can make that
Yeah.
for you.
Nobody
But
seems
we
to
can
think they
definitely,
could.
we can definitely shoot drop.
I'm not.
No.
We can definitely apply.
Break her again.
You only just mended.
See, I won't be here.
However, sorry, Tom, Jack, sorry, because I was looking at Tom.
Yeah, no, that's nice. Oh, no, I'm joking. So, yeah, I fully agree that we need to do so for this. I was just gonna, I don't think it needs to go to events working group. We can set up, my proposal is that we don't set up a task and finishing group for the 80th anniversary of World War II event, including Melksham members, the cadets, and all the other organisations that we've got in the town. I might actually have a contact for military vehicles that I can hook up and see if they can bring those down. I don't know about Spitfire, but I know she's definitely got tanks.
Jack, can we have Melksham without in it as well?
Melksham, yeah, Melksham about whoever it needs to be. And let the officers decide, but what organisations or charities or groups can focus on this.
And
But
actually, I think making sure Melksham without a part of this is
Yeah,
a really big deal,
100%.
particularly
Yeah.
because of Barrow's connection.
So that's my proposal.
I'll second that.
Hang on a second. Tom.
Pretty up for it. I'm just trying to think of opposite time with Christmas. Remember, it's currently Christmas coming up. Do we need a task finish group? Because realistically, not a massive amount's going to get done. You know, a little bit may get done, but not a massive amount going to get done much between now and the next meeting. Because we have Remembrance, we have Christmas, which is horrendously time consuming. And maybe afterwards, but do we really need a task finish group between now and the beginning of December, or can it just?
The problem would be.
Can we ask our?
Time after Christmas to plan it.
Can we ask our officers to look into it and bring it back to? Yeah, I'm just thinking timescale wise.
By the time we fix the meeting date.
People have started to put things up. I think the problem we've got, Tom, is that if you look now, things that are booking up fast for the 80th. There are some lovely ideas on here though. We've just been having a look through them. They've been looked through. There's things like Lanterns for Peace, which I think would be a nice way to bring the kind of peace element into it. So you can light lanterns for peace, which you could, obviously we could let off from the park and things, which I think are really nice ways of bringing peace. Lanterns. Huh? No, you don't let them off. Create them, sorry. They're like, gas lanterns rather than, you can't let off those ones. No. But we could do something like that as a way to have it be more of a commemoration of peace, and I quite like that. I think we do need it now based around the fact that we are very quickly running out of time.
So can we look at a date to my motion then?
So I think we, as in a date.
Just start the.
Oh, I think so, yeah. I think one of the things we probably do need to decide here is, are we going to hold it over the bank holiday weekend? I think that's when most people are holding theirs, isn't it? Yeah. Which is the third, second and third, the third, fourth and fifth. I think if we said the bank holiday weekend.
Actually register, and there's like all sorts of events taking place.
Yeah, obviously it's not half term that week, so it normally can be.
So it's like in Beacons, like a Beacon as well at the end.
Yeah.
Bank holiday weekends at the end.
Go now. I'll go back again.
On for a Beacon.
Yeah, so there are things that you can do and you can sign up to things as well that are already planned so that you can become part of those things. They still need planning. But things like lighting beacons and playing the song I've forgotten the name of.
Vera Lynn and things.
No,
Last post.
that's the one. Thank you. I know, I'm very impressed that you know that. I'm very but I think, yes, so are you happy for us to, do you want to propose a motion?
Well, yeah, I'll propose that we set up a Tassif Energy Group, inviting those organisations and groups and clubs and et cetera, that could be involved in this. Tracy, I'm looking at you. When can this Tassif Energy Group start?
I'd look
Okay, looking at Sarah.
We're well aware that you're coming in.
And anyone else
very
interested?
busy months, but
You all just said words in an order and my brain exploded.
Okay.
But yes. Sorry.
I'll come back to date. Or do you want to set a date now?
Well, I think we want to set a date now, don't we? Because otherwise.
hang on, Hayley was going to speak
Sorry.
next.
No, all I was going to say was I can see the ladies over there.
Freaking out, me too.
I think if we were to set a meeting in the next couple of weeks where we can just gather everybody's thoughts on paper
Yeah.
to have some vision, because I think there's a lot of events that have been
Yeah.
spoken about tonight. And I think from my point of view, you've got a few things, a few steps that you need to be looking at in terms of the timeframes, grant application forms, getting your sponsorship packs in place. You've got a lot of the basics to do before we start asking officers to do planning more and more events. And then that will give you the facilities to look at the information that you need for the budget. So I think in the next couple of weeks, if we have an initial meeting, maybe with councillors and officers to go, who do we want to invite? What's next? Because you don't want to invite them to a meeting and not have an agenda.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll let you decide the date in the next couple of weeks. But in the next couple of weeks, then yeah.
Do you want us to decide who's on the task and finish group?
Are you suggesting that it wasn't at this stage of task and finish meeting? Just
Well,
the
yeah, but you
general
probably
meeting?
still want to decide who's going to be in that, because you don't want, or do you want to open it up to everybody? I feel like that's way too much.
Yeah.
I would suggest you are better off having a couple of councillors initially, I don't know what Tracy thinks initially, to just put something together, but then I do think that all councillors will probably want to have an opinion about what that looks like.
Tracy, you happy with that? So if we nominate 3 councillors,
I was just looking on at your calendar, you haven't got anything on the Monday for the
Sorry, hang on, I'm getting confused there. I thought Hayley's suggestion was the initial meeting was not a formal task and finish meeting,
No.
it was a.
no, it's
Council
not,
on that
but I
part,
think
just-
it's just to figure out a date.
What availability you've got, so to think.
And I think we should.
Does it have, if we haven't got an agenda, it doesn't need to go on there.
No, I'm just looking at your 3 dates.
I'm just saying.
But what I'm saying is it could be during the day if the, if. the
Well,
council-
councillors
council
work.
don't- If the relevant councillors are available on a particular day.
I think in
I'm not
this
saying- I'm not
particular
saying-
room, that doesn't leave a lot of.
It'd be an even for me. Yeah, I think the principal proposal is we set up a task and finishing group, which we need to do tonight, and allocate those councillors that are going to sit on that group with the first informal, whatever you want to call it, meeting that happens on this date. And then from that, then we look at exploring other options. We don't invite the organisations to that meeting. That is literally just like, as Hayley was saying, agenda setting meeting, sort of what our ideas are. Because actually now's a good time to speak to others while they're involved in the
Well,
remembrance parade.
The first thing obviously then is to decide who's going to be on it, and then the second thing is to ask them what dates are available.
So let's go for that Monday.
Yes, exactly, I definitely can't do that Monday, 28th, I can't do.
But we can feed event, I think it's very important that whoever's going to sit on there talks to all councillors and actually brings their ideas forward, because I think it's not it is something that we all probably want to be a part of.
Yeah.
So I think if we just have 3 people who can come to an initial meeting to set an agenda, you happy with that?
Yeah.
It's not a Monday, that could.
I don't think we need to worry necessarily right now.
No. It's not even-
So let's just decide 3 councillors right now. I'm happy to
But yeah,
put myself forward.
I'll-
Is there somebody else in the room who'd like to?
I
put
would
themselves
do, but I
forward?
don't want to go on date.
Probably not that date.
Yeah, in that case, I'm not.
Depends on the date, I would, but I just need to know the date, because I'm quite busy this month.
Okay, when we've got our councillors, let's send out some invites and dates, and then when we know a date that everyone can do, we'll choose that date.
Yeah.
Even if it's that we meet 6 o'clock before a meeting on Monday night.
I
We
agree.
don't need that long of a meeting to discuss what we're going to do, because actually the bulk of it will happen in the meeting when we've got other people there.
Well,
I
officers can work effectively before that,
Yeah.
to try and put some sort of project plan together for you, that it shouldn't take too much of your time.
So,
It's the coffee, it's just woke me up.
so is everyone, so who's going to put them, so if I'm happy to.
I'm happy.
Yeah.
myself.
I'm obviously-
Pat, would you like to be on it as well?
If I can come, I will.
Okay.
Yeah, fine.
That's, so that's the 4 of us. So,
And then you-
Councillor Oakley,
So
Together
hang on, so
with,
this is for,
Just agenda setting.
with Hayley and.
but this is, it's
Not the task
I look like a deer in
I
headlights.
thought the idea was that we were setting the membership of the task and finish group anyway, and then, but not
No,
having
because
a
there'd be other
formal task and
people,
finish
there would
meeting.
be other people coming into the task and
This
finish.
is
Yes, but I mean,
literally
this
just
is
a
council.
This is the councillors that are going to set the task of finishing group.
Yeah, so
And
You
we're
are-
having
yes.
a meeting on that whenever it is to discuss ideas at the moment. And then who actually in town we would look to invite in to have the official meeting of the first task and
Yes,
finish.
so from councillor point of view, you
Yeah,
are the members that are working in
Yes.
this task and finish group.
We
Yes.
will be the members, but this meeting that we're
But this
setting
meeting
is
is-
just a pre-meet agenda set, possible ideas, not a task and finish meeting.
Yes, it's a pre-meeting.
It's a pre-meet.
Pre-meeting of the meeting.
Yeah, essentially, yes. Yeah, you do. For things like this, I think when they're
Okay.
different to what we normally do, I think it's a good idea to have that way of working. Okay.
I think you have to vote on the motion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we
Got a
do.
membership?
I propose that we, that.
Okay, I'll second it. Everyone in favour of those 4 people? Unanimous.
Did we vote on the actual task of finishing group?
It's- You are the members of the task. and-
Yeah, that was what we just
That is
mentioned.
what you just voted on.
Right.
But we're the members of the
We've
task.
done it slightly different. We should have voted on the fact that we wanted.
We
the
should
task
have done, but I don't think anyone's
So let's
gonna.
just, you can work that.
Oh,
I think it's given. If you
Yeah, yeah,
voted
yeah.
for membership, you obviously want to.
Yeah. Cool.
Well,
That's our way.
Before the assets meeting. You're on a day when the officers are already here, that's. Okay. Well done. Wonder where I was. Okay, so item 14, new events for 2025. To consider possible new events for 2025. 14.1 is a confetti battle, with the profits going to the mayor's charity. We discussed at the last, I believe it was, or maybe the one before, I'm not 100% sure, that we really wanted to do more events to help benefit our mayoral charity. Because otherwise, essentially what they get is In fact, not much at all. They tend to get a raffle at the mayor's reception. We've already done some things to help them, but I think it would be nice for us to do a few other things. However, I'm well aware that a confetti battle probably needs to be done in the summer if it is something we'd like to do. Everyone appears to have left. Or was it that contentious? I'll go to you, Andrew, first, and then I will put my ideas forward.
What is it?
So, yeah, fair. So, Tom, do you want to describe it?
Oh, a cannon is essentially loads of cannons flying off in the air with confetti. We did one at the coronation, the King's coronation. Essentially, you would have cannons, say, for example, did it in the town centre for now, for argument's sake. You'd have loads of cannons attached to all the light poles, for example, and then on a countdown, you press a button and all the confetti fires out. You can also have bags of confetti that you can chuck at each other, like a snowball fight with confetti. You could have lots of different ways of doing it, but that's essentially the way it's kind of, I think, a snowball fight with paper.
We're well aware that a neighbouring town does it.
Very well.
They do it very, very well. So this is more of a discussion whether or not this is something we'd be interested in doing, but it is something that a number of residents in our town have named as something they would quite like to do. Councillor Westbrook.
I'm just a little bit confused, only because we've agreed that we're going to have 5 big events next year. And we're now talking about some extra ones as well. Surely these fit into some of the events.
So this is what my thing I was going to come to and
Because, you
say.
know, again, we've already said we've had a confetti battle, we had a coronation. So, you know, I just think that these are things which we can do.
I
Not
agree.
bombing fits in with the VE Day celebrations. The confetti battle perhaps fits in with your event. And the colour run could be something.
So I actually thought confetti battle, because you need to shut roads down, would fit quite nicely off.
It has to be the summer, because I spent a whole weekend clearing up after Carnival one year because they'd had confetti coming off their and again, I think it has to be done on field because it will biodegradable.
Actually, the biodegradable confetti isn't as good as you think it's going to be. What you actually need is volunteers afterwards to come and sweep the streets.
It was unbelievable one year after.
You can vacuum it if you want. You don't have to say yes, I should say. It was just a suggestion.
It's a lovely idea, but I just think it's.
Yeah, I mean, it went down really well, didn't it?
Yeah.
Coronation.
Yeah.
I do think, but I have to say, I do err on your side of caution about doing it on a grass area rather than the tarmac.
Can I ask some clarity, just?
Yeah, of course.
How, because you just said it was about raising money for the mayor's charity. How do you raise money for the mayor's charity?
So we were going on this one, I was thinking you sort of charged a £1 fee to be there.
Or for like a bag
Or
pay for a bag.
pay for a bag of confetti. I should say these are just ideas. At no point is anyone saying these have to happen. They're just ideas.
Because well, I might be completely wrong, I don't know these ideas, but can we not merge the confetti battle and the colour run
So I was
together?
just going to say that we could potentially.
Because actually they're both going to create the same mess, and leaf blowers, that was my action.
No, we thought you were Hoover.
No, yeah, leaf blowers to blow up the confetti. But merge these two together, because actually I would charge £1 to just chuck confetti up in the air out of a box. Whatever we're going to do, obviously we're going to do a bit more exciting than that. But actually I would charge, dare I say it, would charge £1 to run the colour run, and then also be involved in the confetti. Yeah, I would do it if it's for the Met. I'll do it if it's charity. But I think actually merging the two together would be the better way going forward.
I don't think that's a bad idea. I was going to propose something similar. Tom.
Yeah, I pretty much just one little thing, but yeah, I agree. I think certainly the confetti battle and yarn bombing. Sorry, I don't know what that is, but I'm sure it's chucking yarn.
Tom.
I imagine it's chucking yarn at so the confetti battle and chucking yarn at people. I think would be great for some of the other events. No, but I agree, no, I think they work really well, I think you're right, connected to other events. Just one thing on the current, just an idea, and it would mean, it's not a massive amount of planning for us, it might be a quick win, tell me to go away if no. But we have park run every week, maybe it's worth asking park runners if they're happy to do one for charity, but for colour run, that might be a really easy win there.
I was actually just thinking about what you were saying and officers' time.
Yeah.
Is about actually, you might be able to facilitate, I think, yarn bomb, I think would actually fit, yarn would actually fit really well with the day. We did it quite a lot for the coronation, it works.
It works
well. For that, it is very much of making flowers or poppies or post box covers. Yes, you don't throw it, you.
Totally different to what I thought it was.
Is achieve 14.1 and 14.2 by using a company that will come in and use our facilities.
Oh, yeah.
And do a donation, therefore you haven't got officers' time, you're facilitating your outcomes. But you're using the facility might be an option with the rest of the workload to investigate.
That's a good one.
Yes, yarn bombing, yes, I mean, all those lovely post box tops and things that were done earlier this year, wasn't it? Last year.
Well, all the time they're done.
I was gonna say, they tend to be done spontaneously by a lot of crocheters and knitters. So if we put it out that we wouldn't object to them doing it again, we wouldn't have to organise anything, they just appear. But my idea of yarn bombing is something we did a few years ago. And I don't think there's anybody here now who will remember it, but we just wound yarn strips of knitting around the trees out here after the leaves have gone. And I was thinking that it could stay up until Christmas and not be taken down until after the Christmas decorations are taken down. It would just be part of that, because then you'd see it. Otherwise, with all the leaves on, you don't see it, but you just keep winding it round until you can't reshuffle something. But it does look very attractive. It's particularly on that tree across the road here.
I think for some of these smaller events, putting them in with something else just saves officer time, particularly at the moment when we're about to hit our
And it's
two
something.
massively busy events coming up.
And it is something else that doesn't need officer intervention, because I spoke to the Crazy About Knitting girls the other day at Bevan Hill. And they've got about 18 members. They meet monthly and they do all sorts of charity knitting. And when I mentioned it to Bev, she said, oh yes, she said the girls would love to do that, because it is just simply strips of knitting, or as in my case, I've cut up a load of jumpers into strips and I'll just stitch them together. But it's something that gets done somewhere else, and then all you have to do is make sure that they have the means to be able to wind the yarn, wind the knitting somewhere. So it's not an awful lot of work.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, I think the idea of just encouraging the community to do it and just take it completely in us and actually do the VE day, because then some of the feelings you could get would be really, really cool. You get some really cool stuff there.
I would err on the side of not calling it yarn bombing, however, if it was.
Well, that's what it was called last time.
Is what it's called, that's what
Yeah,
it's named.
It is.
Okay.
It was pretty unusual at the time.
Appropriate name for World War II.
People are not gonna.
No.
Well, Bevan Hill knew immediately what I was talking about,
Yeah.
and they wouldn't have.
It's a worldwide thing.
What you were talking about a minute ago.
Yeah, it's, people know what yarn bombing is, but it's, well, obviously, Tom didn't.
I
Neither
think
did I.
you'd be surprised.
Well, like I said, there's no.
I think you'd be surprised as well.
No, I think you'd be surprised that people don't know that that's terminology. People know what it is.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Knitter, are you, Tom?
But then if you're clarifying in your communication as to what it is, this is what yarn bombing is, this is what we're looking for.
This is what we had before, they should be somewhere.
I think it's something, if we're going, hang on a second, if we're going, hold on 1 second, if we're going to look at doing this for the 80th celebration, let's bring it to that meeting rather than this one.
Park it.
But Tom and my mum will come to you.
Yeah, you hit on a few bits. I funny enough, I thought a similar thing. One, I don't really know what it is, and two, I thought bombing was a weird word, but you feel free to ignore me that. Just confirmation. So, is your idea, Pat, to put strings of yarn in the trees as well?
No, it's just winding it round the trunks and the branches.
Okay, so I'm just making sure there's not gonna be like an environmental issue where birds and squirrels get like wrapped up in yarn and thing, is it?
You just take it down.
That's fine, that's what I double check. So I can have it then, I've said it, I don't want any birds and squirrels to
No.
strangled by yarn, but no,
No human or animal will be harmed by it.
okay, that makes sense.
I'm really sorry, Chair.
Yes.
I'm a bit confused. Which, are we on?
I just said we've actually decided, we've talked about all three of them together, mainly because actually they all sort of fit with a pre-existing event.
So let's talk about sorry, I'm taking a bit, but let's talk about 14.1, 14.2, but joined together.
Yes, so.
Are we doing it?
So, I think the confetti battle and the colour run, I think that if we are going to look at doing them, I think they are nice to be put in with one of our pre-existing events. The Mayor's event feels like that's the right one to do it with. It also gives us significantly more time to figure out what we're going to do. Is everybody happy with that as an option? That if we do look, and I should say, none of these have to be done. But they're just discussions. So if we would like to look at doing these, I think putting them into a pre-existing event makes much more sense than trying to do them as separate events.
Great.
Yeah. So confetti battle and colour run, we'll look at putting into the Mayor's.
Can you explain to me what the colour run is, please?
A colour run is where, well, essentially you don't have to do it with running, but it's essentially where you get. Have you ever seen Holy Festival? Holy Festival.
Coloured powder.
Coloured powder that you make to throw, and it becomes a colour explosion.
Indians do it.
Yeah. So it becomes a big sort of, God, there's lots of these words are really quite aggressive words, aren't they? It becomes a really great colourful experience, which would be really nice to put in with a colour, with a confetti battle. They're all very aggressive words, aren't they? No, you're not wet. You're not wet. It's powder.
Powder.
It's not paint. Yeah. Can you see this? It's really messy, but it's a lot of fun.
I watch it in the town. Do we need a vote?
Do you need a vote on that?
So we can talk about in that task force, because
Yeah.
organising like that, haven't you, to know where to run.
Yeah, and I'm just really, I'm really conscious that actually we might be able to try all of them.
Well, I'd wear short.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think, but I think we might have,
Hang on, guys. Can we just have one meeting, please?
I think we may have other community events, some of these can be attached onto.
Yes, I
agree.
And also remember where everything, we would like to try and get things as much as we can cost neutral, and all of these things, events are going to cost money and we don't know the cost yet. So I think before we confirm that that's something we want to do, I think we need to get that.
So could we, instead of making a decision to talk about it in the Mayor's, could we maybe make a decision to, it doesn't need to be the next one. I appreciate the next one is rather busy with it being Christmas, but maybe not the next community development, but the one after, we have the discussion around what potential community groups we could approach and talk to look at these being matched with. Yeah. We haven't got to that one yet. So yarn bombing, I think we've kind of decided that we'll talk about that as part of the 80th anniversary. Everybody happy with that? I'm going to just vote on that just so that everybody is happy. So is everyone in favour of us discussing confetti battles and colour runs with community groups to see how they could potentially assist with fit in with the community group? We will also discuss them as part of the Mayor's celebration. And then I'm going to do them together because I think they all fit as one.
Well, yarn bombing can be done by the crocheters as well as the knitting groups, and there's more than one knitting group.
That's okay. I think it's when we do it. That's the question. It's not about who does it. It's about when we do it.
It is street art, so it might just happen.
Well, if it does just happen, that's fine.
Well, that's the hint you put out though.
Yeah.
That's what makes.
Nobody's going to arrest you if you want to decorate a post box or a tree with knitting or crochet.
But I think if we could encourage it around a theme of the 80th celebration.
That's what we do, that's how it works.
Yeah, and it's, and we don't need to do it just now. I think let's bring that to the 80th. So I'm gonna ask for a vote on that because I think otherwise it's gonna get real confusing. Thank you. So all in favour of that? Did you get what that was? Because it was a bit confusing.
Confetti battle? No, actually.
So confetti battle and colour run, we are going to talk with community groups to see if either of them fit with a community group event that they would like to run.
Yeah.
But we will also discuss it with the mayor's event
Okay.
as a potential. Yarn bombing,
Hang on, sorry, so that one, next but one community.
next but one, yeah. And then yarn bombing, we will discuss at whatever the meeting is for whenever the meeting is going to be for the 80th anniversary.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Oh my God. 15. Project updates.
Sorry, did you vote?
Sorry? Yeah, it was unanimous.
Missed it.
Sorry, I proposed seconded. Unanimous. Project update, no updates on priority projects belonging to community development. There are a few, but we've sort of talked through them all.
Yeah, pretty much apart from the youth advisory board.
Yeah,
Obviously,
although-
Charlie's, sorry, councillor Stokes's thing anyway.
Apart from the fact that it is technically an event, I wasn't overly sure if it was meant, if this was the right committee. Charlie sits on this committee, usually.
I mean, it's sort of community. Community.
Yeah, that's true. I'm happy for it to sit here.
It probably sits better here than in here.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, because it is a community event. Essentially, the update on it is, however, is that
So Charlie was speaking
Charlie's
with Christina
working.
and that, and talking about dates, potential dates.
do you want to give an update on it? Do you have an update?
Do you have a slide?
Yeah, go for it.
So, obviously the funding is all in place from, area board. We have talked to the team at the Assembly Hall and, have penciled in the 15th of February. So we pushed it back a little, quite significant space of time from what was originally suggested, just because of capacity at the Assembly Hall. But it does give us more of a lead in time to develop the event fully.
Yes. Any comments on that? Thank you very much. Thank you for the update. In that case, I draw this meeting to a close. Thank you very much, everybody. What did you just say?
What a good meeting.
That was very combative of me. I'm very sorry.